Good morning, everyone. My name is Leslie Denard. I am a career advisor here on the Career Services team. Welcome. We are going to present our webinar this morning on leveraging LinkedIn. Today, we'll be featuring our recruiting and corporate hiring consultant, Gary O'Neill. Gary will be discussing a little more about how to utilize LinkedIn to your best advantage. Some of us, you can always learn a little bit more about the tricks, especially with LinkedIn, and LinkedIn changes things on us occasionally. So he's got the inside scoop on how to make it work for you the best. So just a little note, if we have any technical issues, if for any reason you experience some challenges in the audio, if it stops or in some way you can't hear, go ahead and log out and log back in, and that will typically fix any connection issues you might be having as well. Now, if everyone will click on the raised hand feature, I just want to make sure that you can indeed hear me. Oh, good. Okay, I see everybody's got that clicked up. That's awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. I'd like to draw your attention to our questions options menu. That is a spot where you're welcome to ask questions. We encourage you to ask questions. Gary takes breaks in between a little bit throughout the presentation, and we'll ask some of those questions, but we'll have an extensive Q&A at the end. So if your question doesn't get asked immediately, just know we're gonna discuss it at the end. So that way you'll have a full-on answer, everything you might need to know about that. I'm going to also draw your attention to our handout section. We have a leveraging LinkedIn PDF in there. You're welcome to download that. That's what Gary's going to be using today. And without further ado, I now give you the floor, Gary.
Awesome. I would take the floor if I could click my mute button better. Hello, everyone. My name is Gary O'Neill. Thanks for being here today. We're here to talk about leveraging LinkedIn. And without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So most of you probably know what LinkedIn is, but let me just kind of outline that real quick. It's a number of different things. I mean, the easiest way to think about LinkedIn, well, there's two sides to the coin, right? One side of the coin is LinkedIn is your resume, right? It just is. It's your modern day resume. It's your online resume. So much so that most of us who do what I do professionally, I run recruiting teams for corporations. Most of us, that's our primary tool. As a matter of fact, me and the recruiters who I currently work with, and a lot of my friends who are recruiters, if you apply for a job or somehow I end up with your resume in my hands, and your resume has a LinkedIn link on it, which it should, I bail out of your resume and I go straight to your LinkedIn profile. There's a number of reasons for that. Let me share one of them with you. And one of the main reasons, I'm sorry, I'm looking down, but I want to show you one of the main reasons. Right here, I've got an interview this afternoon, and let me show you something. So when I look at a resume, like a lot of times, I do my work on mobile, just like a lot of people do. And I would say probably half the time I'm mobile one way, shape, or form. And so I've got an interview this afternoon with an individual. And when I try to see their resume on my phone, that's what it looks like, right? And it's a PDF and I can reflow it, but it gets all weird and it's just hard to look at. And there's more information on LinkedIn. So what I do is I will go straight to this individual's LinkedIn profile. And where is that at? 1 second. Bang. Let me scroll right down. Now we're cooking with grease, right? Now I can see it. Now I can deal with it. So my point really is that LinkedIn is a very, very important tool with respect to recruiting, hiring, job search, all those kinds of things. And knowing how to use this tool is really important. And the first way to think about it, the first side of the coin is, it is your online resume. It is the way that people like me and my teams find people like you for our clients and our customers and our hiring organizations. And that's the one side of the coin. What does your online presence look like? And is it easy to find? That's the first side of the coin. There's the coin. And then the other side of the coin is, to find people, to reach out to people, to start that. So we're going to talk about both sides of the coin with respect to leveraging LinkedIn here today. And I'm going to share as much as I possibly can with you. And I'm going to try to save a good amount of time at the end so we can ask and answer questions, not just about LinkedIn. We'll take all kinds of questions about music and everything else toward the end. I'm kidding, but if you want to ask questions, I'll give it a shot. All right. So let's
Hey,
see here.
Gary. There you
Yeah.
are. Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. We're on the same page. Sorry about that.
Okay, cool. We're all good. So here's one of the things to think about, which is what do all people who get hired have in common, right? Because the idea is that if we knew what all people who get hired have in common, well, let's have that. Let's do that. Let's copy that. Let's, clearly, if we could find that common thing, then we would do that. And I'm going to tie this to LinkedIn. And when I talk about this in front of a live audience and get feedback and the rest, and if you've thought about your answer, what I'll hear a lot is, well, they have a good resume, or they do a good interview, or they know someone, or they're motivated, or there's an opening, or things like that. And it's like all of those things are helpful, but I mean, they're not all true. I mean, I know people who get hired who don't have a resume at all. I know people who fail in their interviews. I know people who essentially don't know anyone, who find their jobs not through networking at all. And the only thing that I can find in common with every single person who gets hired is that they get to the front of the line, meaning that they get to talk to the hiring manager. Now, what I want you to understand is that while it may seem like you're subject to all kinds of process and the applicant tracking systems and recruiters and everybody else, and some set of unwritten rules about how recruiting and hiring works, I'm here to free you from all of that. There are no rules. There are no processes that are consistently used. There's nothing, right? And so I'm here to set you free and to say that LinkedIn is a key tool with regard to your ability to get yourself to the front of the line, because nobody else can do it for you. No one else can do it for you. You've got to do it yourself. Now, people can help you. I can help you. The career services team that Leslie's a part of can help you. But at the end, it's always up to you. And you got kind of two strategies you can work by. One is the common strategy of waiting. I apply for a job and I wait. I interview and I wait. So there's lots of waiting. And I'm here to tell you that waiting is not a strategy with regard to getting to the front of the line. And especially these days, because there are more people who are going after fewer jobs, and only the people who get to the front of the line are going to get hired, quite frankly. And let me be a little bit more clear about that using a real live example right now. There's an individual who is going to get an offer today for a director of UX and product design position that I'm going to get to extend this afternoon after I get off this session. And that individual is going to be excited about it. They're going to say yes. We'll get the written offer in their hands, and that'll be a done deal, by Monday, right? Here's what I can tell you. There are, just in the last 3 days, there are an additional 47 people who've applied for that position. And there's an additional 32 people, I think it was, who counted it, who I had reached out to on LinkedIn in the last few weeks, who have now said, hey, I'd be interested in having that conversation. So here's the deal. There are a bunch of people, and it's a pretty good chance that someone else who is in that set of people is as good or maybe even better in terms of, being great for this role than the person who's getting hired, but they're not at the front of the line. So getting to the front of the line is critically important, and your key tool for getting to the front of the line is called LinkedIn. So we're going to talk about that a lot. All right, I'm going to teach you how to get to the front of the line. All right, so here's what I'm going to do now. What I want to do now is I'm going to bring up, if I can find the right page. Here we go. I'm going to show you what's hiding somewhere. One second.
Not a problem. Everything's good.
When you go, oh, there it is. It's like half on the screen, half off the screen. When you got 3 screens, sometimes they just get out of control. There it is. I see it. It's hiding right there. I got too many windows open. And okay, cool. You should be able to see my LinkedIn screen now, right? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Perfect. You got it.
I haven't looked at this yet, but this is an article that's in my stream. Some dude says today it was going to be the very first time seeing a chicken cross the road. He's got this whole story. He's going to get to see a chicken across the road. Anyway, so what I want to do is I want to show you how we as recruiters use this tool called LinkedIn to find people just like you. And what I can tell you and how important this is that my team almost never posts jobs. I've worked with, well, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of companies in the last 20 years, but even in the last 2 years, I've worked with about 25 different companies. And the majority of them and the majority of hires and the majority of roles were never posted online, because posting a job online just creates this cascade and overflow of like incoming stuff that mostly is garbage, right? People aren't, but I mean, mostly it's not fit. So the majority of hires that I've been associated with in the last couple of years, and when I say the majority, I mean like plus 90%, all begin and end with me and people on my team and people that I encourage to, who are hiring managers and others, reaching out to people on LinkedIn. Now, my team is a little bit unique. Most aren't that way. Some companies' primary hiring strategy is posting jobs online, but no matter what, the majority of hires that happen are not as a result of jobs being posted online. Just as many, probably more, are recruiters and people in HR and hiring managers and others using LinkedIn to find people, reaching out to those people who are targeted and specific. And so let me show you a little bit about how that works. And the reason I'm going to want to show you that is that if you understand how this game is played, it makes it a whole lot easier to win. And some of the suggestions I'm going to make to you in terms of how you craft your profile will make a whole lot more sense. All right. This is not my upgraded recruiter account. This is the same free account that you got. So what I'm going to do is, let's just assume that my team just got an assignment to hire a IT help desk person, right? Let's just do IT help desk today. And so what I'm going to do is, and I'm going to show you, this is how you search for people. I would suggest you rarely type up here. What we're going to do is, first we're going to pick, what are we looking for? And I'm looking for people. So I'm going to click this where it says people. Do you see that? See me click right up here? And when I click up here, I can search for people, I can search for jobs, I can search for content, I can search for companies, schools, so I can search for all kinds of stuff. I want to tell it I'm searching for people. And what that really does is it brings up this little bar right here, and this just tells me, and I always go right here to all filters. So I don't want to search for everybody in the world, I want to search for specific people. And so as recruiting and hiring professionals and HR professionals and others, what we typically do is, well, here's the standard search. We're going to search for location. So in this particular case, I'm going to use Austin just because my network is bigger, and most of the time somebody looking for you, particularly a recruiter, will have a large network in their area. So I've got a large network in Austin. So I'm going to say I'm searching in the Austin metropolitan area.
Okay.
And I'm going to go here down to title. And so I'll search for area and title. Most of the time, somebody will start with the title of the role that they're trying to fill. So I'm going to say IT help desk, and we're just going to see what we get. And this is literally how I do it as a recruiter. So here we go, hit apply. All right, I got 35 results. Awesome. So what I would do with this 35 set of results is this. I would wait for it to finish loading. But what I'm really going to do is LinkedIn member. I'm going to skip that one, but I'm going to hold down the little control key, which does the same thing as open a new tab, right? And I'm going to click Joseph and Will and Joseph Hinkle. And depending upon how big of a hurry I'm in, I might just do this. I might just go connect and done and connect and done and connect. And if I got a little bit more time, I'll add a note and I'll say, hi, Joseph. It's always good to be connected to IT help desk professionals in Austin. Let's connect. Exclamation, bang, bang, Gary. and then I'll put that into my copy buffer, right? I select all. I'm kind of a keyboard guy, but I'll show you here, copy, and then I click done, and that just sent that message to Joseph. And then some of these others, it's you know, some of them that I'm already connected to, it's not showing me those, but I can go through here, Scott Sylvie, I'll hit connect, and I'll add a note, and I will paste that previous note, and I'm going to change this, and I'm going to change that to Scott, and off we go. So in less than 5 minutes, certainly less than 10 minutes, I would go through these pages, and I'm going to send a connection request to every single one of these individuals. And any of these individuals who I see who is first person to me, and none of these on this first page are, and what I'm talking about first person is that in LinkedIn, there's this notion of being connected to people. You'll notice that David Lowther is second to me. And what that means is I'm connected to somebody who's connected to David. And connected means that at some point or another, someone sent you a connection request and you accepted it, or maybe you sent a connection request to someone else and they accepted it. As an example, if you send a connection request to me, I'll accept it. And so first person are the people who you're directly connected to. Second, like David is to me, is I'm connected to somebody who's connected to David, and I can even show you who that is. If I open David's record here in a new tab, if it will actually come up. Let's see, I'm going to close some of these other tabs, make things speed up a little bit.
Hey, Gary,
Hey, yeah.
while you're waiting for that,
Uh-huh.
can you that's okay. Pay no attention to the sound in the background.
All right.
Can you tell me about searching for help desk as one word or two words? Because I know that sometimes even just that part of the process can hold people up because they start putting the word help desk together as one
Yeah.
word and they don't get the same results they get with two words. And I know
Yeah,
that's a
no
little
doubt.
bit of an aside, but
Yeah, no, it's not an aside at all. That's actually where we're going right after this, which
oh,
is,
perfect.
here's the thing. So what we're searching for is location and title, location and title, location and title. And
Right.
so what'll happen is 35 people just isn't enough, right? And what I'm going to end up doing is connecting to all the people I'm not already connected with out of that 35, and anybody who I am, and I don't think they are because the first person connections would have been top of the list for me. Anybody I'm first person connected to, I go check them out and I'll probably send them a message that just says, hey, I'm recruiting for a help desk position. When the time is right, I'd welcome a conversation, right? So I'm going to send that message out to people. 35 isn't enough. So what I'm going to go do is I'm going to go search for a different title. And one of the things I was going to do, you like read my mind, you're so great, is essentially instead of help desk being two words, I'm going to make it one word. And we're going to check that out here in just a second.
That's awesome. I didn't mean
Yeah,
to steal
right.
your thunder there,
Oh, no,
Gary.
no, it's all good. We should pretend like we planned that.
We did plan
Um,
that. We did.
we did plan that. So check out David, right? He's second person to me, and here's the reason why he's second person to me. We have one mutual connection. I'm apparently connected to Kimberly Box, and Kimberly Box is connected with David, so that means David is second person to me, and Kimberly would be first person connected to me. I'm going to hit connect to David. I'm going to add my note again. I'm going to paste that thing, and I'm going to say, hi, David, right? So if I were really in the mode of doing this and I was just sitting down focused, I would already be through by this point in time, reaching out to all those 35 people in less than 10 minutes, right? In less than 10 minutes. Now, what's going to happen is that I'll get pardon me, I'll get notifications when those individuals accept my request. I can go into my network. I can see who's connected with me recently. And if I'm working on an IT help desk position and I see that IT help desk professionals have connected with me, bang, now I know that I can not only message them, I can generally get their contact information, I can generally get their email address, and now I'm going to go check them out and engage in a conversation. You'll notice that I'm not opening any of these profiles. I'm not digging into that in detail. I don't know whether they're a Linux help desk or they might be Salesforce help desk or they might be Microsoft help desk. I don't care at this point in time, because all I'm looking for is someone to respond to me, somebody to come alive, somebody to have a conversation with. Because the truth is, I could open somebody's profile and spend time looking at it and decide I want to try to talk to this person, and they never reply to me. So every bit of the time that I spent looking at their profile was totally wasted. So, and by the way, when we get to the second part of this session and I show you how to find people who might be interested in hiring you, you'll do the exact same thing. It's not about doing a whole lot of homework. It's about finding people who are willing to have a conversation. That's really what it's all about. And once there are people who are willing to engage in a conversation, now I can determine whether or not the time in that conversation is likely to be worthwhile for them, right? So I'm going to go back to my search. I'm going to go back to all filters here, and you'll notice that I got 35 results in my last search. I forget who was at the top of the list, but what we're going to do is we're going to put this together into one word, and we're going to run this search again. All right, now I got 58 results, and you'll notice it's an entirely different set of people. Look at that. I got Ellen, I got Hudson Taylor, I got LinkedIn member. That's the same person. LinkedIn member always shows up in my search results. It's just stupid. It's just somebody who is just kind of a dormant account, maybe somebody who's creating it, who knows why it's there, but you just ignore those. Gorian Shabanovic, right? I got Travis Lee, and here's the thing. If I recall correctly, none of these people came up in my previous search, none of them, right? And so one of the lessons learned, here's a lesson learned we just have, which is in your LinkedIn profile, in your headline and in the titles of the positions that you have, you'll want to have the titles that somebody is most likely to search for, because when somebody is searching for you, they're going to search for location and title primarily. That's the first thing. So if your location and your title don't match what they're searching for, you will not come up in their search request. So what I'm going to do in this particular case is, if I was in a hurry, I'm just going to hit connect and I'm done. I'm going to hit connect and I'm done. I'm going to hit connect and I'm done. And I'm going to go through this 50 some odd people, and I'm going to go send connection requests to them. And then, you know, so I got 58 plus LinkedIn members plus 35. If I wanted another set, right, I can run another search, right? So what I also know is that a lot of places who have people, they don't call them IT help desk, right? I can search for things like system administrator. I could search for network engineer. I could search for Microsoft administrator. So how about I do this? System administrator. So now I'm going to run my search. So my search is the title system administrator, and location, Austin, Texas Metro. Click apply. This is going to bring up a bunch, 882, ding, 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 a bunch. I don't need 882. So now I can finally use this little search at the top, and this is where I can narrow down my search using, you know, keywords that'll narrow the set down, right? So what I might do is, particularly if I'm looking for somebody who's kind of new to IT, maybe somebody's in career transition and slightly more entry-ish level kind of role, because if somebody got 20 years worth of experience doing something, I care less about certifications, but when they're new to something, I care a lot about them. So what we're going to do is I'm going to look for CompTIA, let's just say, right? And so I added that to the search list, and that narrowed it down for 300 and something to 330 or to 131. So here's what I would do. I had 35, I added another 50 some odd. So I got an outreach of about 80 something. I'll go through the first couple of pages of these. I'll connect with everybody, and I will have reached out to about 100 people in a matter of less than 20 minutes, right? In a matter of less than 20 minutes. What's going to happen as a result of that is that probably 10 to 15% of those people, maybe 20% of them, will respond to me. The ones that I don't have a connection with, I'm going to send a connection request to. Anybody who I'm first person to, I'll look at and see whether or not I want to reach out to them. Let's see if there's anybody first person to me on this particular page. I'll show you what I mean. My whole point here is that if you understand how the game is played, it's a whole lot easier to win and get yourself to the front of the line. I'll find somebody who's first person to me here in a second, so I'll show you. So I'm going to go to my network right here, and here it is. Look at that, Jessica Perrette. See, was she one of the people that I just reached out to? No, she's a product manager who I reached out. So this person I reached out to this morning for a completely different role. And come on, Jessica. Here we go. I'm working on a UX position. reached out to her today. Turns out I'm getting an offer out for that same UX position, so I'll follow up with Jessa and just say hi. But yeah, so that's what I do. So what I'll do is periodically through the day, I go back into my network, I see who's connected, then I review those profiles, and then I can reach out to people. And here's the reason why I can reach out. I could send a message to Jessa right now through LinkedIn, but the thing is that people often filter all of their email that they get from LinkedIn into the trash, or they don't pay that much attention to it. Reaching people directly through an email address generally is more effective than reaching them through a message inside of LinkedIn. And if you're not first person connected to somebody, it actually uses what's called an in-mail message, which you don't have any of unless you have an upgraded account, which probably isn't worth it. They end up being about $10 a piece. It's how LinkedIn makes money. But once I'm first person connected to Jessa Perret, I suppose that's how you say her name. See this? I can click contact information and ding, 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 look at that. Jessa was so kind to me because she gave me her email address. And now what I'm going to do is I would reach out to Jessa. If I was recruiting for this position and I didn't find out like right before this call that we're going to extend an offer to somebody who's been in consideration, if I didn't know that already, when I saw Jessa had accepted my connection request from just this morning, I would have sent Jessa an email message saying, hey, Jessa, the subject line would have been, thanks for the connect in LinkedIn. And I would have followed up and said, hey, thanks for your connection in LinkedIn. I'm running recruiting for XYZ company and we're bringing on board, and I'm going to say head of UX, right? Which is really, it's not the title of the role, but that's what hers is. When the time is right, I'd welcome a conversation to see whether or not this might be a really great career move for you. Thanks. And so if Jessa is somehow interested, I might send her a link to something, but I'm essentially going to reach out to Jessa and see if Jessa wanted to have a conversation. If she does, it went into her email, I might message her here. And there's a good chance that I would have a conversation with Jessa today or sometime on Monday or Tuesday if she was interested in considering making a move. So this is exactly how recruiters and people in HR and hiring managers use LinkedIn to work with people. The thing I want you to have it just a couple of really clear, specific takeaways from this conversation so far, which is the first one is you might notice that I haven't looked at anyone's profile, right? I haven't looked at Jessa's profile. I haven't opened it. I haven't paid any attention to it. And too often people sweat the details of what's going to be in their profile and what are they going to say under each one of the jobs and how do you put your stuff. Here's the truth, that you can have a beautiful profile that isn't search optimized, that doesn't come up at the top of the search list for people, and it doesn't matter because no one's ever going to reach out to you, no one's ever going to find you. You notice that when I searched for system administrator in Austin, Texas, right, there was 800 and somebody responses. I mean, when do you ever go to page 35 in Google search results? Like, have you ever? Well, no, nobody does that inside of LinkedIn either. And so, once I've gotten through a list of 35, 40, 45, 50, I mean, I'm kind of done at that point in time. And me and most of the people who do what I do, we don't open people's profiles because when we're in that mode of searching and reaching out, I could spend, if I had a list of 100 people I was going to reach out to, and I spent 1 minute a piece looking at their profile, that would take me over an hour and a half of extra time. And of those 100 people that I look at and respond to, less than 20% of them are going to get back to me at all. And of those, half of them are going to say, thanks for connecting, but I'm not interested in changing jobs. So that means I could spend an hour and a half only to get 10 people back. And the 10 people who are going to respond to be interested in having a conversation with me, it doesn't matter whether I looked at their profile ahead of time or not. So the whole idea is to reach out to individuals, connect with them, get their email addresses, send them messages, invite them into a conversation and see who responds. And the thing that I know is that they all have their location, Austin, Texas, where it's just where I need them to be. And all of them have IT help desk or IT help space desk or system administrator with CompTIA in their profile. And that's a big part of what it's going to take for somebody to be interested and successful in this role. So does that make sense, right? What I'm trying to say is that it matters less what's in your profile than it does that your profile be highly searchable. And that's really my message. You need to have your profile come up high in the search list. I'm about to teach you how to do that. I just wanted you to see why it's so important and why you need to stress a lot less about what's in your profile and a whole lot more about how to make your profile essentially search engine optimized, right? What do you think, Leslie? Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yes. In fact, we don't necessarily have any questions at the moment, so I think that
Cool.
you're on a roll.
All right, good. I think I'm on a roll too. All right, so here's the thing. There's a couple of lessons learned. So it's really about location, right? And it's about your title. So let's just start with location. And so here's the thing. Unless LinkedIn has changed something very recently, and we're going to go look, you can only be in one location. So if you're planning on relocating or what have you, if I'm searching for somebody to work for a remote role, it kind of doesn't matter so much, but generally I'll still look in the metropolitan areas where I'm at, because even if somebody's working remote or working remote from home in Austin, Texas, still is a little bit closer and easier to do, just in case we ever need to get together when it's safe to do that. So your location still really matters. Let me show you where you can edit your location. If you know for sure that you are relocating, you currently live in, wherever you currently live in Austin, and you're dedicated to relocating to Lincoln, Nebraska for whatever reason, you might consider changing your location in LinkedIn to Lincoln, Nebraska. Now, when you do that, my expectation as a recruiter is that you're in Lincoln. And so as long as you can get there for interviews, as long as you can open up that conversation, or maybe you tell me you're not, but I mean, you'll have to work that later. But the thing is, you could keep your location in Austin, Texas, and I'm never going to find you if I'm looking for people who happen to be in Lincoln, Nebraska, or the other way around, right? So when I start looking at your location, so what I did, I need to change the background on my thing just to make it more interesting. But what I did was, here's this top section, there's this little pencil right here, and I'm going to click the pencil, and I'm going to go down, and right here under postal code is where you get to put your location. No one sees this. I can't see this on your profile. It's only used for searching. So I don't know what zip code you put in, but when I go to my paid LinkedIn account, my recruiter account, I can put in within 5 miles, within 10 miles, within 15 miles, within 20 miles of a particular zip code. And I'll usually do that because, as an example, when I ran the search for system administrator, there were 883 results, if I remember right. That's way more than I need. And what I know is that people's interest in an opportunity, one of the things that matters is how far is it to work? And let's just set aside the fact that nobody's coming to that office right now. Someday they will be again. Then I'll narrow it down to within 5 miles. And if that gets me down to about 135, I'm good, right? If that got me down to 20, now I'm going to go to 10 miles, and I'm going to work my way out until I have a set of about 80 to 100, 120. That's what I need to work with. And generally out of that set of 80 to 120, depending upon the role, within a couple of few weeks, I'll have the problem solved and somebody will get hired. So what you want to think about is, if you live, say, like in Austin, there's a town called Georgetown, which is way up north of town. There's almost no businesses and not a whole lot of business opportunity north of Georgetown. So if somebody put their postal code Georgetown, and I was certain they were, and you were willing to commute into town, but if I put, parameters 5 miles, 10 miles, you won't come up on your search results. So you might want to consider putting your postal code in, let it be a postal code in the middle of the area that makes sense for you to commute to, right? Yeah, that's it on that, on the location. The more important piece, though, is, I originally searched for IT help desk, and then Leslie said, well, what about help desk as one word? And then I said, well, what about system administrator? And what about network engineer? This is one of the most important things I have to tell you today, and it's in the handout that I have for you. That. So you'll notice though, my profiles right here, so here's my company hire factors. I have multiple titles: recruiting leader, executive recruiter, technical recruiter, talent acquisition specialist, director of recruiting, executive recruiter, senior technical recruiting, talent acquisition leader, right? You'll notice there's a pattern here, right? And so the whole idea is that on your LinkedIn profile, you really have to have positions that have multiple titles on them, that are the kinds of titles that somebody's going to use to search for when they search for you. Now, you also need to have a and this is in the handout, all these notes, everything I'm telling you is in the handout, you need to have what's called a current position. And what a current position means is it's one that's going to have this word present on it. And you can have multiple current positions, but you have to have one. And the reason why you have to have one if you're in job search mode is that if I was in my paid recruiter account, you'll see that when I run a title search, I can make a choice as to whether or not it's your current title or a past title or what have you. And so when I'm in my paid account, which is what I usually use when I'm searching for people, I will put in whatever title I'm looking for and flip it to current. And the reason why is because I don't care whether you're employed or not. I really don't. Most of my recruiters, we don't. It doesn't matter to us whether you're employed or not. But what does matter is that if I search for IT help desk and I don't put current, I'll find people who are IT help desk 25 years ago and now they're a CIO, and that doesn't help me at all. And so we'll typically, if we have a paid account, one of the first things that's going to happen is we'll narrow our search down to only searching your current title. And your current title is always the position that happens to be one of your current positions. So let me show you how to do that. I'm going to add a position right here. I click that little X. And so I'm right here. I'm going to say IT help desk and help desk, right? System administrator, network engineer, end user support, and whatever else makes sense, right? IT security, whatever else makes sense in terms of the types of things that somebody are going to look for me, for what titles are they going to use, what searches, essentially what searches do I want to come up in is the way to think about it. So you list for your title multiple titles that are the titles that people are going to use when they're searching, and you put the ones in that you want to come up in the searches. So what this is essentially saying is, instead of title, this says, what searches do you want to come up in? And I want to say, well, I want to come up in searches where people are searching for IT help desk or system administrator, network engineer, end user support. And by the way, if they say IT admin, that will work because LinkedIn doesn't necessarily look for the words cojoined unless somebody put it in quotes. Usually they don't. And so it will search for any combination of these things. If somebody searched for help engineer, I would come up in that, right? So you want to have multiple titles in your position, and you want to have a current position. Here's the way that you do this. LinkedIn accidentally mislabeled this, where they say I am currently working in this role. What they meant to say was make this my current position. This is what that's supposed to say. It's supposed to say make this my current position. They just messed up. So, because if you uncheck it, it's going to ask for start date and end date. So all you do is make this my current position. And then whatever start date, whenever you started at in your training program or whatever makes this sense with regard to your career transition, whenever that transition started, right, you would just put that in. So I'm going to say in this particular case, I'll just say April 2020, just for fun. And I'm going to put in multiple titles, right? Multiple titles. For company, it really doesn't matter what you put in for company that much. But what I could say is, IT student, if that's what you're in, or it could be administration, whatever it is you're transitioning into, right? If you're a student of some sort, and you can say seeking new opportunities, right? Something like that, or seeking new opportunity, right? And then what I would do would be, I would come in here and don't have it update my headline. Just don't ever do that. I'll tell you why in a little while. And then what I'm going to do is under my description, I'm going to, if I am in career transition and I'm transitioning into medical transcription kinds of things, then what I'll do is for my titles, I'll say medical transcription, medical office manager, whatever it is, the titles that make sense for the kind of role that you're transitioning into. And then under the description, I'll talk about certifications that I'm working on, training classes that I'm taking, the other kinds of words that somebody's going to seek, right? I'll fill that out in my description, right? It matters a whole lot less what you say in your description, because it's really about coming up high in search results. I mean, once you come up high in search results and somebody reaches out to you, now they'll pay attention, but nobody really pays much attention to your profile when they're first doing a search, right? But in the description section, you just put things about what you're doing and what you're learning and the keywords somebody might use to search for. In other words, earlier when I searched for system administrator and 883 people came up, I went straight up to the search box that I'm pointing out up here in the left and searched for CompTIA. So you put those kinds of things in the description, anything that might be the kinds of words that somebody would use to narrow the field down, right? Healthcare or industries or what have you, so that you still come up high in people's search results. All right. All right, so it's pretty simple that way. And then what I would do is then I'm going to save that. That would make this another current position on my profile. I'll go ahead and do it just so you can see it. There it is. And so now it just appeared at the top. So if somebody was searching for help desk system administrator, those kinds of things in Austin, Texas, and I was part of their network, I'm going to pop up on the top of their list, right? I'm going to pop up at the top of their list, or at least on the first couple of pages. And I don't even have any detail under here. As a matter of fact, people are putting in less and less and less and less and less in here. Yeah. The other thing that people are putting less in is you'll notice that when I get up to this about section, which is essentially my summary, LinkedIn only shows people the first 2 lines of your summary in your LinkedIn profile, or your about is now what they call it in your LinkedIn profile. They only show 2 lines. I know people are at LinkedIn and only like 10% of the time does anybody click on show more. And so what you can do is, I'll tell you in a bit, but you can load this first couple of lines. You got to be really crisp on what your, what your professional story happens to be. First couple of lines, and then the rest of this you can load it up with. I would take this same title and all these words and I'll load them up. That's what I did. Technical recruiting, executive recruiting, professional recruiting, recruitment process outsourcing, knowing that almost no one is going to click on it and read it, but it makes me highly searchable in these results, right? That's what it's all about. What do you think, Leslie? Are we doing all right?
Yeah, we are. In fact, while you're on this subject of fine tuning and sort of getting more focused,
Yep.
can you give us an example on project management? Because that can be a little bit overarching, large
Yeah.
field,
Yeah.
and we've got some business folks who are not quite sure what they should put for
Oh,
that.
sure. Yeah. So here's one of the real key things with respect to product management. It is, the title is project manager, right? And there's like PMP and things like that that people are going to search for to narrow the set down. But the thing about project manager is that it's a very, very broad title. It's kind of like account executive. I mean, it means really, really different things to different people. And the other thing about it is that, in the last 2 years, my team has been responsible for hiring, I don't know, at least 10 project managers. But here's the thing, the companies that my teams have been responsible for, the majority of them were SaaS software companies. And one of them happened to be an e-commerce company, and it was on their technical side of things. And so for us, when we're searching for people, we're always searching for a project manager, but we're all, it's software engineering or software development, so it's always about project manager of something, right? So if I was working for a new home construction company, if somebody didn't have some expertise in new home construction, it's a little hard. So as a project manager, what you probably want to do is understand the domains in which you actually have some expertise so that you can I am not suggesting that there aren't software companies who have hired project managers who have no software experience. That is not what I'm suggesting. What I am suggesting is that whatever industries or domains you actually have some additional expertise in, that's the shorter path to jobs. That's the easier path to those kinds of jobs. So if I go in here and I say, search, and I'm going to search for people, and I'm going to go to all filters again. This is exactly how I always go about it. I'm going to put in my location. I'm going to say Chicago. And I'm going to go down here to title. You know, if you thought about putting a title in there that's actually misspelled, you'll be the only person who comes up in it when I spell it M-A-A-N-G-E-R. So you might want to put all kinds of misspellings in your title too. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Don't do that. Don't be the one person who comes up when I misspell the title. Oh, awesome. So in Chicago, Illinois, with the title Project Manager, I got 14,000 of them, 14,000. And my network in Chicago isn't necessarily very big, which, by the way, you do not come up in somebody's search results unless you're part of their network. You'll notice this person's third person to me. That means I'm connected to somebody's connected to Muhammad. This person's second, Divya. I'm connected to somebody who's connected to Vivia. Eric, third person, right? But nobody beyond third person pops up in my network. So if my network wasn't 16 million people, most of these people would not appear in my search results. In fact, I bet you if you went and ran the same search, you won't have 14,000 people. So the thing is that we're going to talk about in a minute. It's really, 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 really important that you build your network. But we'll talk about that next. So what I'm going to do though is that now that I ran a search for a project manager in Chicago and I got 14,000 of them, right? Now I'm going to narrow it down. Home construction, residential construction. See whom, look at that. It actually kind of did it a little bit. I wouldn't even know that I'd spelled it wrong. Home. I'm going to add residential home, residential construction. 147, ding, 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 I'm good to go, right? I'm now good to go. So what I'm going to do is, by the way, if you're trying to connect to somebody who's third person, LinkedIn does this really annoying thing because they think that we're stupid, but we're not, is that if I click message, it's going to want me to have an in-mail message. It's going to want me to have an upgraded account. It's going to want me to pay them money, right? You don't have to do that. If somebody's third person to you, here's what you do. When you look at their profile, instead of it saying connect, come on. My little computer's pedaling as fast as it can. Do you feel it straining? But what it says here, right here, is message. If they're second person to me, they say connect, right? But what happened is that LinkedIn wants me to pay them money to connect to Jared, but they don't know that I'm smart enough that I just move over here to this little more box. And all they did was they hid it from me. There it is, it's connect right there. So they make it a little bit harder for me, right? And I would send a note to this first person, Jared, and I'd say, hi, Jared. It's always good to be connected to project management professionals in Chicago. Let's connect. And then I'd say, bang, bang, Gary, because I put my name. I would put that in my copy buffer, and I would then send that note to Jared. So I just send him a connection request right now without a note. And then I would close that and I would move on to the next one. So all these third person, I'm going to open in a new tab. Anybody who's second to me, because you'll notice my network, I don't have a big network in Chicago. Most of these people are third person to me. And that means since I don't have a big network in Chicago and 14,000 project managers came up, if I had a bigger network, I could probably get 28, 30,000 people whose title have the words project manager or management in that title, right? So what's going to happen if you're a project manager or in IT or whatever it is lots of times people are going to begin narrowing the search down, and they'll also narrow it down by, in this case, instead of home PMP, let's see what happens if I narrow that 14,000 down by PMP. Got 1,200, right? I got 1,200. So it's always about having the multiple titles in your current job. They're the kinds of titles that you want to come up in those search results. And then in the body and in the description, have the different things that people are likely to narrow it down by, because they're going to get this massive set and you need to be in the set when they narrow it down. So you want to put your certifications, you want to put any industries or disciplines that you're either really experienced in, or even ones that are interested in, right? If you're getting your PMP and you're really interested in healthcare, even if you've never been in healthcare, if you put healthcare in your description in that job and I narrow it down by healthcare, you're gonna come up in my search results. So it's all about building your profile so it comes up in search results. Is really, that's the game, that's the trick, right? Nobody seems to talk about that much, but I'm here to tell you that what you want to do is to get to the front of the line. And the first step of getting to the front of the line in LinkedIn is coming up at the top of my search results. And then people want to know, well, do I post my resume? I do all these other things. And what I do in the education, I'm kind of going, do whatever it is you want, because none of those things really matter, because the only thing that really matters is, do you come up high in search results? Because if you don't come up high in search results, you can have media posted, and you can have your resume posted, you can have all kind of educational stuff, you can put in things about your interest and you're a swimmer and all, whatever. I mean, that's all fine, but none of it makes you come up higher in search results. Well, what about the little thing that says I'm open to work, right? Well, put that or not, it doesn't really matter. That has no impact on you coming up in high in search results. So when you're thinking about building and optimizing your LinkedIn profile, really the only need to think about is this going to make it more likely that I come up higher in search results for the person who might be looking for me? And if the answer is, I don't know, or no, then do what you want, because it just doesn't matter at that point in time. The only other thing that I'd say that really might matter a little bit with regard to things that aren't searchable is, when in doubt, put your picture. See this person, Lacelle Renaud, is just less interesting. I know people at LinkedIn, all the stats are that the people who have pictures up get reached up to like 70 to 80% more than people who don't. So if you don't want to, it's all good, right? I mean, don't feel pressured to do it. But if you're on the fence about it, make sure that you do it. And the ones that are better, this is a better picture, right? I can see Patty, she looks friendly, she became humanized. Kinga, not so good, not as good, right? A little further back, right? I can't really see Kinga, but Patty looks friendly. Sarah, that one's fine. I'd zoom in a little bit on that one. This one's great, right? This one's great. So everybody's getting pretty good at it these days. It doesn't have to be professional, but you probably don't want your dog and your kids and stuff like that. I mean, every once in a while we see these ones like, why did they put a vacation picture on here, really? So yeah. So let me show you this one other thing, and then we're going to shift gears on all this stuff, because this first part was just about impressing you on the fact that with regard to building your LinkedIn profile, I'm going to go through this is the handouts. It's about being easy to find, and it's about search engine optimizing your LinkedIn profile. And we've talked about all these things. So step number one, use multiple titles that people are likely to search for. So here's some examples: system administrator, network engineer, Microsoft administrator, IT security. How about this one? Office manager, executive assistant, administrative assistant, chief of staff. How about this one? Software engineer, software developer, programmer, UI, UX, C++, Java.NET, C#, Agile, SAS, right? So avoid vague titles. Even in your past jobs, I mean, don't put vague titles. If you had a title such as technical analyst, I have no idea what technical analyst is. I'll never search for technical analyst, and when I see it, I'll go, what the hell is a technical analyst? I mean, LinkedIn is not a legal document, so put something that makes sense. If what you did as a technical analyst is that you design wastewater treatment facilities, and you say drafter for wastewater treatment facility, even if your official title was technical analyst. I mean, technical analyst doesn't mean anything, right? So when you have titles and you have stuff in your LinkedIn profile or your resume that don't mean anything, get rid of them, right? Turn them into something that means something, right? All this official stuff that you got, it's, all the titles that you had, they're not very official. I mean, they're just a label. Turn the label into something that makes sense for people, not what it was officially, right? Just know. Why did I close that? So use multiple titles, have a current position. I showed you how to do that, right? You check the little box that says I work here or what have you. And if you're the person who goes, but it says if I work there, I don't really work there, just remember that they mislabeled that. They meant to say, make this my current position. So check the little box that says I currently work here. Because here's what happens is that the majority of us as professionals who do this work, I'm showing you out of the free account because that's the same thing you probably have. My upgraded account, I would sit right under title. There's a drop down that says current. I always flip it to I want it to be your current title. So if you don't have a current position, one that says some date through present, if you don't have one, you do not come up in my search results. You don't come up. So since the majority of us who do this professionally have an upgraded account and we flip it to current, if you don't have a current position, you're coming up and no one searches. So have a current position. You have to check the box that says I currently work here or whatever it is, because they mislabeled it. Set your zip code in the middle of the area that you're willing to commute to. You can't have more than one. You just can't. And despite the fact that there are a little bit more remote work jobs now than there have been, it's still more difficult to find remote work than it is non-remote work. So just know that. I mean, it's out there, but if you have a choice, don't go to market looking for remote work. Go to market looking for something that's in your area, right? That's the shorter path. Now, if it's important for you really for whatever reason that you do remote work because you live in the sticks or something like that, I mean, that's cool. I'm just saying if you have a choice, the shorter path is not remote, right? It's just the shorter path. It's easier. And then final thing I got to show you, which is before we shift gears and talk about how to go find people, is this one, which is a searchable headline. So let me show you that. Where did my LinkedIn profile? LinkedIn. All right, here it comes. Come on. It's thinking really hard.
I think it might be a full moon. I don't know when weird stuff happens. Usually it's that, but I can't tell you exactly what the lunar cycle is right now.
Right, right. In my neighborhood, I've just watched it. The bandwidth gets really, really skinny during the day because I think I've got thousands of people in my neighborhood are on video and Zoom calls right now, right? So the network just goes crawls during the day some of the time. All right. So this is my headline right here, right? This is my headline. And when I run a search, right? When I run a search, and I'm going to go do one of those searches again, I want to give you another example. Remember I did IT help desk, and then we did IT help desk with no space, and it was different people. And then we did system administrator, it was different people, but yet a lot of times they're doing the exact same job. So this time I'm going to run the same search, and I'm going to, so we can just see it's going to be a whole nother set of people, because very few people use multiple titles, and they're not smart like you. They don't know to use multiple titles. The title this time is going to be user support, and I'm going to apply that. I got 50 of them. Yep, there you go. Julie, Michael Bear, Clara Heath. So none of these are the same names, right? Totally different set of people, again, despite the fact that the majority of them do the same thing. This is Julianne Tobin. Her headline is User Support Specialist. Michael Bear, his headline is User Support at Grande Communications. Now, when you update a position and it says change my headline and you leave that little box checked, it changes your headline to title at company. And so if you're creating a current position and the name of your company is Seeking New Opportunity, and you put multiple titles, if you leave that box checked to update your headline, it's going to change it to multiple titles at Seeking New Opportunity, which will just be weird. So just don't do that, right? So don't do that. Don't use the default title that's in the position. I'll show you that in a minute, but this is your headline. So most people use the default user support specialist, at Apple, user support 3 at Grande Communications. Really, do you think they can tell the difference between a user support 3 and a user support 2? Does anybody really think that? If you're in HR, just don't do that. I mean, it's just silly. User support specialist at Dewey, Bollatine LLP, right? Senior manager, user support at ShipStation. So this is your headline. The reason why I'm showing you this is that in the notes and the handouts that you have, I say, make your headline searchable. And here's the reason why, is because one is that your headline shows up in any kind of search results. The more important reason though, is that if somebody knows what they're doing, they're gonna go search for people and they're gonna put in your title. And when I put in your title, it's gonna search the title field of the positions, right? So in other words, since I searched the title field, it's going and searching Giuliani's, Giuliani Tobin's positions. Come on, Giuliani. Giuliani. I'd say Giuliani probably. Giuliani. Come on. Spinning. So when I search for title, it's coming down here and it's looking in this experience section and it's searching these titles. So see, Portuguese user support specialist. So I put in user support. So it's searching these titles, right? Well, what happens is that if you have somebody like a hiring manager or somebody who doesn't really search LinkedIn as much, or maybe some of you do this, which is they put it here, user support in Austin, this search primarily searches your headline. It'll search other areas, but this primarily searches your headline. So if I run user support in Austin up here, it's going to bring up a totally different set of people again, right? Leslie Evans appeared, she was in that other search list, but it's a totally different set of people. Oh, look, she is there. So because it's in her headline. So what happens is when somebody searches for you up here, it's searching your headline. So here's what you do. Leslie, did you want to say something?
Oh my gosh, no, I didn't. No,
I just heard you. I thought maybe you were there. So I kind of go wait for me to pause.
please keep going. Yeah, no, thanks.
So I'm going to show you my profile real quick. So here's what I suggest you do is that whatever title you're using for your current position, use that for your headline too, right? Use that for your headline. Oh, I'm so glad I went down here again. I need to delete this off of my profile. So if this is the position and this is the right headline for me though, what I would do is that I would edit this and I'm going to grab this and I'm going to copy that, Control C, and cancel changes, close that, and then discard changes. And then I would come up here and my headline, I can edit my headline right here. And I would paste it. Control A. Come on. Control V. I would paste it right there and I would save that. So I would make my headline be the same thing as the title of my current position that I'm using while I'm searching for a job. So that way, and see, this one says, let's update your headline to match your current position, update headline. Like, don't ever do that. Because if I do that, it's going to change my headline to IT help desk, system administrator, network administrator, and end user support at IT student seeking new opportunities. So it'll just be stupid. So yeah, so don't do that. I'm going to delete this while I'm here because I really don't want this on my profile.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, yeah.
While you're deleting that, let me ask you a quick little question about the profile. And,
Yeah.
you know, we have a lot of people sometimes will build it and leave it and never go back to it, but
Oh, yeah.
then we'll say, it doesn't work for me, you know? And so I know that it's easy to do that because you don't want to go back and make all these changes. But what
Right.
you're talking about is pretty quick and easy.
Oh, yeah.
So to make these adjustments. So how often would you suggest going back and changing things?
You know, the only thing that changing things does really is that one, it'll notify your network,
Mm,
and two, LinkedIn appreciates people who log in all the time. So when you log in frequently and you change things frequently and you participate more, then you
mhm.
come up higher in people's search results. So, you know, if it were me and I was actively job seeking, I'd probably have one day a week that I'm going to come in and I'm going to come edit something. And I would do something as simple as this, right? Because
Mhm.
LinkedIn's not picky about what it is you change, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this, I'm going to delete it, I'm going to paste it right here, and I'll do that. And then let me get rid of that. So all I did was rearrange that. Would rearrange a couple of things in my description. I would probably share it with my network, right? And I'm going to click save. And so I just got credit for being here. I got credit for updating some stuff, and People who are in my network just got a message that something about my profile changed, and they might just go click on it. It might be top of mind for them. I might kind of pop up in their world somehow, one way, shape, or form. So I'd probably do that once a week if I was in job seeking mode.
Okay, that's great. That sounds like a really easy way to sort of keep yourself relevant without having to, I think a lot of people think they got to overhaul it all the time, and they
Oh,
really don't.
yeah, no. And I think what people think is that they rightfully think that the detail under the positions matter. You'll notice that I got rid of all mine because what I figured out over time is it doesn't really matter. The only thing, the things that matter most is your are the titles that you use on your position the kind of titles that you want somebody to find you for when they're searching for someone, right? That
Hmm.
matters a lot. That's the
Hmm.
thing that matters most. And then in your description under these things, you want to put, if you're in career transition, you want to put the technologies or the techniques or the rules, or if you're in medical billing and coding, put something, or PMP or project management or Gantt charts, or like put language that's in and around the things that you do, because you never know what somebody's going to use to search for you. Because if you're in Chicago and somebody's searching for a project manager in Chicago, there were 14,000 of them came up in my network, so they're going to narrow it down. And when somebody starts narrowing it down by keyword, it starts searching down in here to go find those things, right? So that's what you want. You want your headline to be the same as that title. And then in this about section here, this is just your summary. This is kind of like, this is the same thing as the executive summary that's on your resume. I would mostly just put the executive summary of my resume here. However, what you want to consider is that mostly, if anybody pays any attention at all, they're only seeing the first 2 lines. So just make sure that the first 2 lines appear and say something meaningful, and then you can space down. And you could just load this up again with keywords, because if I search for a PMP and you say PMP here, and you say it in the title of your job, and you say it in the description, and you say it in your headline, you just got PMP in your profile 4 times, which means you're going to come up higher in search results than somebody who has PMP in their profile 3 times. So the secret to LinkedIn, if it isn't clear already, isn't as much about what's in your profile when somebody bothers to pay attention. It's all about coming up high in search results, and it's all about repetitiveness, and it's all about having the keywords and the language that somebody's going to use to search you. Because if you don't come up high in search results, it's the same thing as having no LinkedIn profile at all.
Yep, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Hi, y'all. I hope this is making sense for you guys. So let's shift on and talk about some other stuff. And if you want to talk about, um, if you want to talk about, I'm so sorry, I'm trying to bring up the right document. If you want to talk about content of, in more detail of your LinkedIn profile, really what you should do is join us for Resumes That Rock, or look at the archive version of it, because that's where we go into detail of, in Resumes That Rock, we assume somebody's actually looking at your resume. We also talk about what you can do to put the right words in and to make it match the job description so you can get through the applicant tracking system. But that's where we dive into a little bit more detail about what would happen in all these different sections and the rest. And essentially, you want your LinkedIn profile and your resume to be, there's no reason for them to be different. I mean, there's no good reason for them to be different. I mean, you may do some minor tailoring for a particular role. And again, I think that people sometimes rework their resume too much. If you build your resume the right way, when you apply for different jobs, it's quick and easy to get the word matching stuff going on if you know how to do it. So if you want to dive into more detail of what the content of your LinkedIn profile should look like, it's really about diving into the detail of what your resume ought to be like. So join us for Resumes That Rock, and we'll go into that. In this section, I want to spend our time a little bit not digging into that as much, because the content doesn't matter as much as being found, right? So here's where we're at. We got searchable headline. We're going to go about keywords. This is about what I told you a while ago, like using PMP or using words or phrases that people might search for, or Gantt charts or whatever they are that people might search for, and put those in the description of your current position, put those in your headline. If you've got space for it, put it in that about section or the summary section. Put those things in your profile as much as you can, because when I searched for project manager in Chicago, and there are 14,000 of them, I narrowed it down by PMP. The people who had PMP in their profile the most came up the highest. So whoever that was on number 1 had PMP in their profile more than the person who was in space number 2. So put it in, be repetitive, put it in multiple times. That's what gets you to the top of the list. And, I think even after I put in PMP, there was what, 1,200 of them? I mean, so even if I wasn't going to narrow my search down anymore, another strategy that I can use as a recruiter is I'm going to send connection requests to the people on the first 2 or 3 pages, and I'm going to be done because I'm probably going to get my answer out of that set of people over the next couple of weeks, right? So if you don't come up high in search results, kind of nothing else matters, right? Kind of nothing else matters about your profile. You can have a beautiful profile on page 20 and who cares? Who cares? It just doesn't matter. Your profile doesn't count at that point at all. Put your keywords in your summary, right? The experience section, I'll just go through this quick, right? The experience section is really your resume. So, join us for resumes that rock. When in doubt, put your picture. Formatting, there's really not a whole lot of formatting stuff in LinkedIn. You can, if you want to, use what's called Unicode characters and the rest, but people kind of moved away from that a little bit. So don't worry about formatting your profile a whole lot. You can use a couple of dashes here and there or what have you, use spaces in between things or what have you, but there isn't formatting and there isn't bullet points and all those things. If you copy and paste those things from Word, just make sure that we'll check out the PDF of your profile. And what I mean by that is that when I look at Sylvia's profile, as a recruiter, what we do is if I was trying to recruit Sylvia, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right here under more, I'm going to save her profile to PDF. I'm going to download that as a PDF profile. I'm not even going to bother to put it on her name. I'm going to drag this to my applicant tracking system. It's going to put her into my applicant tracking system. And if you copy and paste bullet points and stuff like that from Word, just check out your PDF of your profile because it'll really gum up the PDF of your profile, which will make it look horrible. So if you put formatting in your LinkedIn profile anywhere, make sure you save it as a PDF because that's what most of us do as recruiters to put it in our applicant tracking system, or we use a little plugin that automatically slurps your profile into our applicant tracking system. And the formatting that you copy and paste out of Word just messes it all up. So mostly don't do that. It doesn't matter, right? It isn't going to make you come higher. Will bullet points make you come up higher in search results? No. Well, then bullet points kind of don't matter, right? That's the whole point. All right, let's talk about building your network, because here's the thing. If you're not in my network, if you're not first person, second person, or third person to me, you do not come up in my search results. If you're first person connected to me, you come up higher in search results in general, then second level, then third level. Now, if you're second person connected to me and you have lots of the keywords, then you come up higher than the first person, right? So I don't know exactly what their algorithm is, but how closely connected you are to me has a lot to do with how high you come up in search results. And if you're not connected to me at all, and I'm running a search for somebody like you, or you're not connected to one of my team members or what have you, by the way, if you're connected to me, you're by definition connected to my team members because I'm connected to them all. But you only come up in search results for the people that you're in their network, which means that if you don't build your network and you don't have a pretty substantially sized network, then you're coming up in no one's search results. And if you're third person to them, you're further down in the search results than you are if you're second or third. So the moral in that story is connect with as many people as you can possibly connect with. I mean, my goal is to be first person connected to all 600 or 700 million people who are in LinkedIn. I'm a long way from that, but if you connect with me, I've got about, I don't remember, 16, 17,000 people in my first level network. My second level network's a few million. So you'll pick up a few million people in your third level network, which means there will be 3 or 4 million people who could now find you in search results just because you connected to me. So let's talk about how to build your network. And right here, my suggestion is you start by connecting with recruiters, then you connect to hiring managers, and then go connect with people you've worked with. I mean, because the people you've worked with, they're not the ones who are searching for you, and they're not the ones that are real connected. The only thing about the people you work with are the people that you know is you know them, but that's fine. You can connect with them, but they don't help you as much as some of the others. So here's what you do, right? So step number 1 to build your network in LinkedIn, because you really, really, really need to build your network in LinkedIn so that you can find, and by the way, your ability to find people goes up when your network gets bigger, because when you run a search, the only people who come up in your search or predominantly are the people who are part of your network. So if you have no network, you can't find people either. So here's the deal. So I'm going to run a search. I'm going to go to a people search. I'm going to click all filters. And the first thing I suggest you do is you connect to recruiters. And the reason why I suggest you connect to recruiters is two reasons. One is they're the people who are looking for you. And two is they have huge, or three reasons, they have huge networks. So when you connect to a bunch of recruiters, you're gonna a bunch of people can find you. Those recruiters are connected to other recruiters, and they're connected to hiring managers. And so by connecting to recruiters, you build your network in a hurry. And then third is recruiters they'll almost always accept your connection request. So it's a really fast way to get connected to and build your network with the kinds of people who are searching for you. So yeah, so it's super simple, right? So let's say that I wanted to connect with, give me a name of a city. Where's a city where you've got some people you're working with, Leslie?
Houston, Texas.
Oh, okay, got it. Houston, Texas. In Houston, Texas, and I'm going to put in recruiter, and I'm going to click apply. How many do you think? I think 6,000. Oh, 5,100. So I came up with 5,100, and let's say that I'm in medical billing and coding kinds of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to narrow that down, and I'm just going to say healthcare. And I'm going to go look for what this essentially did is it ran a search saying, show me people who have the word recruiter in their title on one of their positions, that they have their location listed in Houston, Texas, and the word healthcare appears in their profile, right? So that got that down to 509. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through here and connect and done and connect and done. I would probably go ahead and bother to create a message that says, hi, Rachel, it's always great to be connected with healthcare recruiters in Houston. Let's connect, -- Gary. And then I'll just copy and paste that, right? And make sure you change somebody's name so you don't say, hi, Rachel, to Ariel. But then you just go through and you send all these connection requests out, right? You send them all out and you connect with, now, you'll occasionally come across somebody who'll ask you for their email address, so just skip that, move on. Some people have their account set where you have to know their email address to be able to connect with them. Most recruiters don't. Or once you've gotten to the point where you've sent out about, I don't know the exact number, 250, 300 connections in a day, it'll start asking you for email addresses. Or if you get the message that says, hey, only connect with people that you know, slow it down, right? I forget exactly what it says. Come back tomorrow and connect with more. If you get that, yay. Like most days when I'm really recruiting, I get that when I'm running into it, and I'm like kind of going, yes, I did it, right? So you need to get to the point where LinkedIn will no longer let you connect with people in any given day. And if you did that, I don't know, order ice cream to be delivered or something, whatever is your thing, right? So that's your goal. So go connect with a lot of people, right, is the whole point. When you have somebody like Muhammad, if I was trying to connect with, and here's what I know, I have 509 results. Instead of bothering to go open up Muhammad's record and go in and find it under more, remember I could connect with him. I got a bunch of other people I can connect with, so I'm just going to skip that, and I'm going to move on, and I'm going to go connect with a bunch of recruiters. So that's step number one. Step number two is to go connect with hiring managers, because what the point is, you want to go connect to the people who are looking for you and the people who are hiring people like you, and and your friends and the people you worked with aren't. So go connect with recruiters and hiring managers. So let me show you how to connect with hiring managers. So I'm going to go back to all filters. I'm going to use Houston again. And let's say that I want project management stuff. So what I'm going to look for is project managers are often hired by a PMO, and I'm going to say director, PMO, and let's just see how many hits I get. So PMO director, project management office, right? Click apply. I got 9. So I would connect with these, right? I connect with all 9 of those. I'm going to go back to all filters, and I'm going to say director, project management. I'm going to click apply. I got 25, ding, ding, ding. I'm going to go connect with all of those. Directors of project management. I'm going to go back to all filters, and I'm going to kind of continue this thing. I'm going to say project manager And I'm just gonna say senior project manager, and click apply. 244. So see, well, now what happens is it doesn't have to be just the hiring manager. I mean, if let's see, Annette Littleton is a senior project manager in healthcare at Transwestern. If they're hiring other project managers onto her team, then Annette certainly knows that, right? She would know that. And so by connecting to Annette, not only did you come up and hire in search results, but now what happens is this. I'm going to go back to my network. I'm going to see who's accepted my connection request. Let me go over here. And I got 17,328. I cleared out a bunch not all that long ago, just ones that were zombies and stuff out there. But come on.
Hey, there's Sean. Sean's
Hey,
on our
yeah.
call today.
Hi,
Hi,
Sean.
Sean.
So check this out. Earlier, I sent a connection request to Ellen. Ellen accepted it, right? So far, and look, I got project manager, right? Somewhere in there in IT. So these people have connected with me recently. Ellen is somebody I sent a message out to earlier, right? And so now what I do is if I was recruiting for this help desk or, or if I was looking for a job and I had connected to Ellen and Ellen was a hiring manager or a recruiter, right? Here's exactly what I would do is I would now come to Ellen's contact information. Click right there. Come on, contact information. There it is. I'm going to take that. I might send a message here too, but my connection rate here is a lot lower. I might say, thanks for connecting. But if I was job seeking and this was a hiring manager or recruiter, I'd probably go a little bit further. I'd say, hey, thanks for connecting. I am I'm a PMP certified project manager. When the time is right, I will welcome a conversation and see how I might be able to help your company solve project management and related problems. Thanks. Right? Right? Short, sweet, to the point. Thanks for connecting. I'm a project manager. I'm a PMP certified project manager. When the time is right, I will welcome a conversation to see if I might be able to help your company solve project management, problems. And what will happen is, if that hiring manager or the recruiter or what have you happens to know that they're currently hiring for or are about to be hiring for, which is even more important, about to be hiring for project managers, they'll self-select and they'll say, yeah, let's talk, right? Let's talk. That won't be most of them, right? That will not be most of them. But if you send that message out 100 times, you might get 2 or 3 people who are interested in having a conversation with you, which means you need to not just do it 100 times, you need to do it 300 times, 400 times, 500 times, 600 times. And on the one hand, I guess that maybe sounds daunting to you, but I just showed you I can reach out to 100 people in 10 minutes. So we're not talking about, it doesn't take that much time, right? This is not one of those things that really takes that much time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send that message over to Ellen, and then I would go in, if it was somebody I really, really want, like if Ellen, if I was trying to recruit Ellen or I really wanted to talk to her because she was a recruiter in the right kind of company or what have you, I would send an email message to, and my title would be, thanks for connecting in LinkedIn. And then I would say, hey, Ellen, thanks for connecting in LinkedIn. I sent you a message there as well. I'm a PMP certified project manager here in Houston, Texas. When the time is right, I would welcome a conversation and see if I might be able to help your company by solving project management related problems. Thanks, Gary O'Neill, 512-814, and I give you my email address. I'm going to launch that over to their email, and I expect that most of the time I'm going to hear nothing back, but 5% of the time, maybe 10% of the time, I'm going to get something back, right? I'm going to get something back. So that's the way that this game is played. So isn't that cool, right? Isn't that cool? I hope you think that's cool. I mean,
Yeah.
here's the thing. Companies don't hire anybody. Companies are make-believe. People hire people. And so the truth of the matter is that prior to a job ever being posted, the hiring manager knew for months that they needed to hire someone. The other people on the team knew for months that they needed to hire someone. And if you reach out to the hiring managers and you reach out to the peers and you reach out to recruiters, and you happen to catch them in the week or two before a job actually officially opens, they already know about it. There is no line. It's non-competitive. Nobody else has applied for the job, and you're at the front of the line like right now. I mean, in fact, you created the line, right? You're the first person. And yeah, that's how this really works. You know, that's how to play this game. Cool. All right.
Yep.
I'm going to show you just a couple more things, and then hopefully some people will have some questions for us. And if you don't have some questions for us, I know some questions you should be asking, so we'll do that.
Okay.
So yeah, so let's do this. You can read this later. I'm not going to read it to you, but here's the deal. In fact, I already showed you how to connect with people, right? So what you do is you go search for recruiters, search for hiring managers, and what I didn't tell you is search for peers, search for people who are already in the kinds of jobs that you do. So here's the trick, right? So, and this is in those notes. But if I was in job search mode and if I was looking for a great job, in fact, I want more than one offer. I want more than one choice. I want more than one. I'm going to do a couple of things. One is, I'm just going to show you, I could search on Indeed, but did you know that Google has a job search engine too? It's better than Indeed's, by the way. Who searches the world better, Indeed or Google? I think Google does. Otherwise, we would use Google, or we would use Indeed to search for all kinds of stuff, right? So when you search Indeed, the jobs that are coming up are jobs that that companies paid to have sponsored. And by the way, when you apply for a job on Indeed, it mostly goes into somebody. Should we go into that right now? If you want to know some secrets about why not to apply through a job board like Indeed and what to do about it, then remember to ask that question in a little while. There's some really interesting things we talk about in effective job search strategies, which is called don't click the apply through Indeed, don't click the apply through Glassdoor, don't click those kinds of things. And remember to ask me that and I'll tell you why. But let's do this. Let's do project management jobs in Houston. So I search Google, notice this blue banner pops up. I click the blue banner and that takes me into Google's job search engine. And the cool thing about this is nobody's paying Google to do these. It's just pulling them from companies' websites. And so it doesn't discriminate against small companies who don't pay them money. Indeed discriminates against companies who don't pay them money. That's not true. They promote the companies who pay them money to do that stuff, and you can't do that on Google's job search engine, so it's kind of a more equal opportunity. So it's easier to find smaller company kinds of things. In fact, see this one, project manager, Google found this one posted on Glassdoor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this one right here. I'm going to go see more, and this is at Jacobs. I don't know if it tells me anything about Jacobs, the company. I'm trying to find out what Jacobs, the company is. Oh, here it is, jacobs.com. So if I found this job on Google or wherever I found it, and this was a good job for me, and I thought that I could do an awesome job in it, here's what I'm going to do. One is, instead of applying through, what choice does it give me? Apply on Glassdoor? No. Apply on LinkedIn? No. Apply on these things? No. This one has apply on Jacobs Jobs. I don't know about that. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to go to jacobs.com and I'm going to go to careers. Come on. And I'm going to go find it. Where is it? Search jobs. And job openings, job title, no correspondence, location Houston, 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 Texas. All right, and how many pages of this have they got? Oh my God, they got a bunch. Keyword, project. Project manager. Well, you know, we could eventually work through this, so we could find that job, right? We could find it. It's going to be listed here somewhere, and I would certainly go apply direct, right? Always apply direct through the corporate website, and then join us for effective job search strategies, or ask me if we have time here in a little while. I'll explain why that matters, because here's the short version is, these companies and their recruiters and their HR professionals are working out of their applicant tracking system that will get you directly into their applicant tracking system. If you apply through LinkedIn or Job or Glassdoor or Indeed or something like that, it's going to email somebody something, and to get it into the applicant tracking system, they're going to have to import it into the email, and they're busy and they're not going to. So your stuff gets lost in their email. So yeah, try to avoid applying through the job boards. It's just not very effective. That's why you never hear anything back. The more important thing though that I would do is I would come to LinkedIn and I would click search, and I would say people, and I would click all filters. Come on. And my location is Houston. Houston. And now I put in recruiter, and the company is Jacobs. I'll run that search. Recruiter right there, right? Corey Robinson, senior recruiter, right? So, yep, I got a bunch of recruiters who work at Jacobs, right? So I'm going to connect with all of them. I'd probably send them a message. Hey, Corey, it's always good to be connected with the recruiters in Houston, Texas. And I'll check my network, and when Corey and or Nicola and or any one of these people connects, now what happens is I'll be able to get their email address. I could send them a message through LinkedIn, and you know, I probably wouldn't say, hey, I saw a job online for a project manager, because you're begging them to say, well, go apply for a job online and go stand at the end of the line, you know, job seeker, go to the end of the line. You're begging them to do that. I mean, and why does that make you, you know, why does anybody want to tell them, hey, I saw a job online? Because does that make them like you more? No, not really. So if it were me, I was reaching out to Corey. I'd say, hey, Corey, thanks for connecting on LinkedIn. Hey, I'm a project manager here in Houston, Texas. You know, when the time is right, I will welcome a conversation and see whether or not my ability, you know, whether or not I might be able to help you and your organization solve project management related problems. And if Corey is the person responsible for that project management thing, Corey is going to engage in a conversation with you, unless Corey is just so busy, right? I mean, you know, reach out to these people directly, because reaching out to Corey directly gets you a lot closer to the front of the line than being the 473rd person who applied for that job online through Indeed, and it went into somebody's email who probably isn't even Corey's email, because recruiters don't have that stuff come to their inbox because they got too much anyway. They got some junior recruiting assistant who's never going to put your stuff into their applicant tracking system, and you're never going to get considered, which is why you never hear anything back. So when you see a job that's posted online, go find the recruiter. The other thing you want to do is, I'm going to go back to the filters, and it was a project management job, wasn't that what it was? And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for PMO and see if I have one. PMO, project management office. Nah, I don't particularly have one. Then I'm going to go to all filters, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to project management, and click apply. All right, cool. Director of Project Management Services, Lyondell based, person, somewhere in here. So I'm going to dive into all these people. I'm going to start working it. I'll just keep searching it until I find people who are likely to be peers or likely to be hiring managers. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of work to go do it. Project manager. Project manager, Jacobs. Shannon Burris. Here's what I know. Shannon knows that they're hiring a project manager. Shannon knows. Shannon might also get an employee referral bonus, right? Karen Coopersmith knows, and Karen might be the hiring manager. Megan Markowitz knows, right? Somnath knows, right? All of these people know. Project manager Jacobs, Gretchen knows. And so I would reach out to every single one of these people. And anytime one of them connects with me, I'm going to send them a message and send them an email that says, hey, Adam, thanks so much for connecting on LinkedIn. I'm a project manager here in Austin, Texas. When the time is right, I would welcome the opportunity to see whether I might be able to help you solve, project management problems at Jacobs. And if Adam is on the team that needs a project manager, he's pulling his hair out because you could see how many jobs are open. Their HR and recruiting department is overwhelmed. Adam hasn't seen a candidate in 3 weeks, and they're drowning in work. And when you reach directly out to Adam, if Adam is on the team that's hiring, Adam is going to engage with you. And not only are they going to engage with you, they're going to go down to the Holland recruiting team and say, what the heck, do I have to do my own recruiting or what? So my point is, skip all of the lines, skip the applying, skip all that stuff, skip the junior recruiter, skip the applicant tracking, skip all that stuff, and go find these human beings who need your help. Go find them. Look, there they are. You see them? Look how many of them there are. Like, we search for project manager, we've got 142. Right? There's a lot of project managers at Jacobs. Looks like now that we've found them, there's nobody but project managers at Jacobs. Oh my goodness, right? So there's a lot of them. So go reach out to them. Some of them need your help, and some of them will help you, right? That's how you do this, right? We just changed the game. Do you feel that? I mean, we just changed the game. You're no longer victim, right? And you're no longer waiting, because waiting is not a strategy. Like, apply and wait, interview and wait. I don't know. I'm just not that guy. I mean, don't be that person. If it were me, I would actually send out multiple messages. Here in your notes is kind of the messaging strategy that I like to use. So, my first message, and we just did project manager, but it's the same for, I don't care what the role is. If I was looking for one in IT, my first message over to the people, whether I saw the job or whether I didn't, right, is networking for IT administration support positions. And in this particular case, I'd say networking for project management positions, right? My name is Gary O'Neill. I'm a certified project manager, and whatever it is, I hope companies get the most, I hope, companies do great project management things. I'd say something better than that, right? Networking to see if you're interested, or, networking so that when the time is right, and what you don't do is say, could we talk next week and so like that? I mean, that's overreach. All you got to do is say, hey, this is who I am. This is stuff that I do. When the time is right, I'd welcome a conversation and see if I can help. That's all. And the people who are actually looking for something will self-select. When you kind of go, I wonder if there's a time next week if we could schedule a phone call so you can review my resume and see if I might. People go, what? I don't got time, right? No, I mean, really, no. So don't beg people to tell you no. Instead, just say, hey, when the time is right, I'd welcome a conversation to see if I can help. That's what I'm here to do. I want to see if I can help. And so, I'll do a couple of follow-ups. I'd send, if I get connected with them and I know that that job is open, I'd send them a message today on Friday. On Wednesday, I'd probably follow up, just to follow up from a message I sent last Friday. No, you're busy. I don't want to be a bother. Just networking, find a new career opportunity. The company can use my help. I'm a certified project manager and security specialist. Just network with people. Just be friendly, and don't be somebody who's taking. Don't be needy, right? Because if you go out in the world, I get so much stuff. I get people messaging me and saying, well, I make this much money. I'm looking for a small company. I'm looking, and they're like I'm a waiter and I'm taking their order or something like that. Are you kidding me? That's not the way that this game is played. So, but the people who reach out to me that says, hey, I'm in this and that, and, if any of your clients, ever, if I could help them in any way, I'd welcome a conversation. I'm just kind of going, oh, okay, great, thanks. And most of the time the answer is I don't, but at least I kind of go, oh, okay, cool, thanks. I'll keep a lookout. I'll keep a lookout. Sure, that's cool. That way I don't have to tell you, no, I'm not talking to you. No, I don't have the time to do that. I mean, no, why am I going to do that, right? It makes no sense to me. But anybody who's just out there looking to do, and if they happen to be a person who is for a good fit for one of the roles I'm working on, I am now their best friend, and we're talking like right now, right? That's how this works. I think we've covered most everything to do with LinkedIn, right? There's all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of features. There's all kinds of, capabilities and these different sections you can put in and groups you can join and all that kind of stuff. But I guess most of those things, instead of spending your time on tweaking all those kinds of things, my suggestion would be spend your time identifying people, reaching out and connecting with human beings, because it's the human beings who hire you, it's the human beings who talk to you, it's the people. It isn't the sections in your profile, and it isn't your education section, and it isn't the graphic that you put out there. It isn't whether you have the I'm open to networking thing around you. I mean, all those things are fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them. I'm just saying that if you had the chance to spend half an hour reaching out to 100 people, or spend a half an hour somehow tweaking a section of your LinkedIn profile, I know which one you should do. And here's the deal, I make my living because people get hired. If I had 100 people who had nothing in their LinkedIn profile other than a title and a current position and other titles and just a few keywords and a few key sections, and essentially had nothing else in their profile, and they were reaching out to 300 people a day, reaching out to see who they might be able to help. If I had 100 people who were doing that, and I had 100 people who have a full-blown profile with videos and all this stuff and all these features turned on and all these badges, and they have all these endorsements and stuff like that. And if I was to make my living because which group gets hired, I know which group I'm putting my money on. The ones who are getting after it, reaching out to people are getting hired. The ones who have all the pretty badges all over their profile, yeah, those aren't the ones who are getting hired. So, if I made my living betting on which group of people, it's really simple. So if you're getting after it and you're reaching out to people, things will happen for you. If you're hiding behind your resume and you're updating your resume, you're updating the stuff and you're applying for jobs online, I mean, that's fine. Now you're just like everybody else. But you're not going to get a better job faster that way. Do some of these other things. That's how you get a better job faster. And because it's not going and looking for a job, going and looking for a job is needy, and going and looking for people you can help, do that. Go find people you can help and they will hire you. So, a little bit of a rant. What do you think? Where are we
I
at? Do
think,
people have questions, comments, anything? That's pretty much the bulk of what it is I have to talk about.
yeah, we do actually. And I do want to let everybody know I did put in the chat all of the career services team, all of our LinkedIn, connect with us on LinkedIn, as well as Gary. And it's, the more connections you have, obviously, as Gary said, the better. Excuse me.
Mhm.
So that's definitely in there for you guys. But the other piece here that I'm seeing some questions about a little variety. We'll start with the first one.
There's Leslie, by the way.
Yeah, that's
You want to say
me.
hi to say hi to Leslie.
Well, and something, thank you for bringing me up, because go ahead and scroll down a little bit and show them my profile, and you'll see I set this up a while back and I haven't tended to it very much, and I tried to add as much detail as possible. So I'm an example of someone who hasn't streamlined yet. I put, as all this detail, thinking more is better, and actually more is not always better. Um,
It's all good
and
though, because none of this causes any problem, right? This is below the fold. What you said here is really good. Rarely is anybody going to open this stuff up anyway. You could probably optimize it for words and stuff, so it'd be easier for people to find you. But I mean, it's not bad. Your new role here with the new organizational name and things like that. I mean, that's all good, and so is this. So
I could afford to pare it down some, but I
you
wanted
could.
people to see, because when people look at what you've suggested, and then they go to the career services team, where we represent what you say as well, and it doesn't necessarily match up, it's certainly not it's not purposeful. It is not intended
Yeah.
to be divisive. It's intended to follow through. So I did want to bring that up on
Yeah.
there.
Well, and the other thing about that is if I was in job search mode, my profile would be a little bit different than it is right now. I'm not. So, I would change mine a little bit. I'd probably add a little bit more to some of those different roles and the rest. So, it depends upon your purpose at any given time. When you're in job search mode, you might do things a little bit differently than if you're not.
Yeah, yeah, and I think a good happy medium, as you've said, is the way to go also. Now, one of the questions we have, and this is something that we hear a lot, this
Yeah.
person says, I find it hard connecting with a stranger without feeling like they feel as though I'm just connecting because I need a job. What do you suggest?
Um, the reason why I'm pausing so much is that trying to feel into that, what that feels like, because I guess I'm on the other end of the spectrum because I've just done this so much. I think that the only thing that's happened for the person on the other end, so as the person on the receiving end, here's what I get. Hey, Jeff Brown, I'll get back to these messages later. So, I mean, I just get a list like throughout the day. I mean, I'll have in any given day from, 20 to 120 people connect with me. And I just get this little little message, and I just click accept. And what'll happen is when I click accept, since Jeff sent me a message, it'll usually pop up here at the bottom. Yeah, you hear that? It popped up. There it is for Jeff. And then Sean, hey Sean, connect, I'll accept. So I mean, it's really not very obnoxious. I mean, it's really easy. I just go in here and I just click accept, right? And then what I'll do is, I click accept. It's not all, it's not obnoxious at all. And then what I do is I usually just close all these, and every day or two I'll go back into my messaging. All the messages that they just sent me in those connection requests, they'll all be in here. And then I'll drop through all this kind of stuff, and I'll reply to people. And yeah, so it's um
It's a
so
mindset,
if you
it
think
sounds
about
like.
it is. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that when you reach out to 300, when I reach out to 300 people in a day, for each one of those individuals, all they got was one little message from me. And if I'm wording the message, particularly if it's a follow-up message to a connection request, if I'm wording the message and I say, hey, Leslie, I'm just doing a little bit of networking. I'm a senior project manager. When the time is right, I'd welcome a conversation about how I might be able to help you and your company solve project management problems. I mean, I'm just trying to help you. I mean, I'm honestly out in the world. So, if I go to market saying, hey, have you got a job? I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for a job. Then you're kind of in the mode of trying to take, right? And it'll feel like that. If you're out in the world and you're just trying to go find people who you can help, the experience each one of them has is really, really a really light touch. They have no idea that they're one out of 300, right? They have no idea. And so if you shift your mindset and you move away from the notion that you're trying to find a job, and instead you go find people who you can help. Do you believe that there's a person out there in the world right now who could use your help today? Well, of course. I mean, of course, that's true for every single one of us. Now, do you believe that there's somebody in the world who needs your help professionally, who needs to pay you, and who would benefit by paying you to help them solve the kinds of problems that you solve? Well, of course. If you don't, then that's a different problem. But if you do, then like kind of how dare you not go find them? How dare you not reach out to them? I mean, somebody needs your help, and it's your job to go find them. And so it isn't about going and finding a job. It's about going and finding people who need your help. So maybe that helps, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's a little bit switching of the gears. And you're right, Gary. I mean, this is your everyday. And for the job seeker, I say our end because I work with the job seekers, but on our end, it's new for them. It's not
It
a
is.
comfortable place, and that's
Yeah,
why. So
yeah,
just
I
try to
know.
get more comfortable with it, I guess, right?
Yeah, and yeah, and I reach out to so many people, and I can't remember the last time I got any nasty gram back. People are really, really pretty nice. They're pretty helpful for the most part. And it's been 10,000 messages ago since I had anybody say anything ugly to me. And probably the only reason why they said anything ugly to me was that it was the sales manager over a team of people that I was reaching out to try to headhunt and poach people off of their sales team. And they're like, hey, stop trying to poach my people. So, that person probably had a good reason for not being happy with me. But my response to her essentially was, well, when you're looking for an opportunity, I'd be welcome the opportunity to talk to you. When should we set up a call? Right. So I just shifted it over. Maybe I could help her too. It doesn't sound like she was very happy. She had an ugly, nasty gram. So the worst thing that could happen really isn't all that good. What you got to figure is that you're not really bothering anybody. You're just trying to help people. It's no big deal for each single one of them. It's just a click away, right? It's just a click.
Hmm.
That's all it
Hmm.
is.
Yep. Okay. That's
Yeah,
great. Thank you.
you're
Um,
welcome.
I do have another question, and this could apply in so many different areas, job titles for different people. So I'm just going to ask this person's question,
Okay.
and you can kind of give us your thoughts on that. How do you know which recruiters to contact? I recently connected with a recruiter at CVS/Aetna for web analyst position. He stated he would have to find out which recruiter handles Aetna, blah, blah, blah. He said it's on the other side. And it says, I did make contact with an Aetna recruiter, but I haven't heard back. So how do I know I got to the right spot?
You don't know, and I think that so the question is, how do you know when you get to the right recruiter? How do you know when you've gotten to the people who really need your help, right? And the answer is it's kind of impossible to know, and that's okay. The answer isn't necessarily in the knowing; it's in the continuing to reach out to people who need your help. And so what happens is that you got to assume that the majority of time you'll get no response. So I hope you followed up with that person and kind of go, wow, okay, thank you so much for responding to me. If you do happen to know any other recruiters inside of the organization, any information you could give me would be greatly appreciated, and expect you'll hear nothing back, right? So for the most part, you figure that you're not going to hear anything back. And so then what you do is, the answer isn't trying to find the recruiter. The answer is find all recruiters, and even more importantly, find the hiring managers. So I'll just show you real quick, right? So this is a matter of go to people, and you said it was CVS, is that right?
Yes, CVS, I guess CVS, Aetna are connected in this way.
Oh, okay, got it.
Mhm.
So what I'm gonna do is, by the way, connecting to and having a conversation with the hiring manager is so much better than the recruiter. Recruiters are really busy, by the way, especially now because there are fewer of them who are employed and they have more work to do and there's more incoming. So recruiters are really busy right now. Recruiter and the company is, I'm just going to put in CVS as an example. And because I don't even, for recruiter, I don't even necessarily want to locate it and narrow it down by location, because it's really common with big companies. I mean, I see it all the time at, like, say, at HP, where you got recruiters in Houston, Austin working on positions in Chicago, and you got recruiters in Chicago working on positions in Houston. So, I mean, you just never know. So I got 134 recruiters at CVS, in this case, CVS Health, and maybe you can narrow it down by CVS, Aetna, or what have you. I was afraid I couldn't spell Aetna correctly. But what I would do is I would connect to all 134, right? And for every single one of them that accepted my connection request, I get their email address. I'll know the pattern after a period of time. It's probably maggie.newsham@cvshealth.com, right? So now I know everybody's email address. And as they connect with me, I just say, I wouldn't even mention if I saw a job that was posted, say, hi, Lizandra, I'm a project manager, or whatever it is you do. I'm a this or that and the other. I'm doing a little bit of networking. When the time is right, I'd welcome a conversation about, how I might be able to help CVS solve project management related types of problems. If it turns out that Lasagna is a recruiter who happens to be working on those, she will self-select, right? She will self-select. So I don't need to know which one of these ones, and I don't need to know which one is the right recruiter. The right recruiter is the one who's actually going to engage in a conversation with me. And at some level, it's a numbers game, right? At some level, it's a numbers game. And here's what I know. I could connect with all 130. Watch, let's see how long this takes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I connected with 3 in 10 seconds. So inside of 60 seconds, I could connect with what, 30? What is that? 60 times, whatever. Somebody else could do the could do the math for you real quickly. I could do math really well, but 20, 25, whatever. So in less than 5 minutes, I could connect with all 134, or send a connection request to all 134. And then I don't have to worry about which one's the right one, right? I'm going to connect with them all. I'm going to reach out to every single one that responds, and I'm going to be appreciative for their help.
That's perfect.
Yep.
Thank you. That's
You're
excellent.
welcome. Yep. And then go find the hiring manager.
Mhm.
Go find the
Yeah,
hiring manager.
this gets easier too. As you do it, the more often you do it, you will find that you're in a kind of on the treadmill, like you've called it before. You're getting on your treadmill, you're going to do your workout in the morning. This is it. And You just connect, 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 and then follow up, follow up, follow up, and then tomorrow you do the same, and so on.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, it's
Yeah,
just a
and and
process.
and the and the thing is that when you're doing this kind of work, the objective is not to narrow down the number of people. The objective is to broaden the number of people. Like it's not about narrowing them down. It's not about finding the one. It's about finding the all. I
Mm,
mean, connect with every single recruiter at CVS Health. Why not?
mhm.
And why not?
At some point, you're bound to connect with someone who will move you to the right spot or the right person.
Oh yeah. Or the
Mhm.
person who just got yelled at out of a meeting because the job isn't filled, and what happened is your message now just became serendipity, right? I mean, that's the ideal situation. They just got yelled at, right? They just got in trouble. They come back to their desk. It happens to be timing is perfect. So miracle happened in the universe, and your email message is the one that's sitting at the top of their box. And not only is it sitting at the top of their box, they don't know that you sent out 1,500 messages this week. They go, wow, the universe just brought me Leslie. Look at that. I just got chewed. And look at that. She's got the right background and everything else. Oh my God. Right. And you just became serendipity. And that person believes that, a miracle happened in the world. And the miracle just happened to be that you got after finding people who you could help. And your message happened to be in the inbox of the person who needed it. Because if you reach out to that many people, somebody needs your help.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and also on the other end of the line, you can also imagine if you do this process, somebody on the other end is going to sit there and come back to their desk the way Gary said, and they're going to go, oh, because they've like, it happened. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it happens at our level too. We connect our candidates and students and graduates with employers too. And sometimes, it's a challenge. You got to find the right fit for everybody, both on both sides, and it doesn't always happen the right way, but it does happen. So don't stop. You know.
Yeah, and by the way, reach out to people multiple times because part of fit, right? You just said fit. Part
Hmm.
of fit is the right time. So as
Hmm.
an example, if I reach out to Carly today, right? Carly's this lead recruiter right here at CVS Health. If I reach out to Carly today and she accepts my connection request and I have her email and I send her an email message right now, it could be that she's in training all afternoon and she's not checking her email. She's leaving work today early at 4 o'clock because she's got some really important thing to do that she's concerned about. So her attention isn't on in her email at all. Over the course of the weekend, 700 messages are going to come in, and yours got buried 700 messages deep by the time she comes back in on Monday, tries to go through all the stuff, and yours got ignored. So fit also has to do with timing because she totally missed your message on Friday. And if you don't touch base with her on again, just reach out to people 3 times is what I do. And then you just, you're done after that. I mean, look at the
Hmm.
messages I have in there. It's like my first message is, hey, this is who I am. I'm doing a little bit of networking. I welcome a conversation. Next one is just following up, right? Just following up. I know that you're busy. And the third one is, hey, this is the last time I'm going to contact you because I don't want to be a bother. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Go find 1,000 people, put this together into kind of a machine, send people the exact same message. And if you feel bad about doing it, it's probably because you feel bad because you're in taking mode. It's because you're looking for something for you. If instead you shift it around, and I know, if you need to figure out how you're going to pay your mortgage, I understand that it's difficult, but if you reach out into the world trying to find people you can help, things will go a whole lot better.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely. And there's something else I'd like to add in here. We just got a notification from someone who had attended your last leveraging LinkedIn, and it says from the last leveraging LinkedIn webinar, I grew my network from 68 to almost 700 in 1 week. People
Yeah.
are really nice, just like Gary said.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
Somebody wants to help you and somebody needs your help, and it's your job to go find them. Who in the world ever said that they're supposed to find you?
Hmm.
And go find the people who need your help. The last act of desperation of somebody who needs your help is they post a job because they're going to get flooded with all kinds of people who are going to be inconsiderate and apply for jobs they're not even remotely qualified for. It's shocking. So
Hmm.
I'm not going to go, you'd apply for a neurosurgeon job, wouldn't you? And on the first day of work, I'm going to put a scalpel in your hand and expect you to cut somebody's head open. What are you doing applying for that job? Are you kidding? Right? So yeah, it's
Yeah,
a mess.
it is. It's good to hear. I mean, this is real time results that happen, and it can happen very quickly too.
It's
So.
a yeah,
um,
it's a mess. Go connect with people. What else?
We have another one that's basically, let's see, it says here, this is a little bit back to your LinkedIn member. If you're trying to connect with someone at that company and it says LinkedIn member and you really don't
Mhm.
know much about them, um, uh, what is that really about? Should you try to connect with that person?
Nah, I mean, I don't. Most of these LinkedIn member ones are ones that somebody partially created an account. It's a zombie account. They didn't put in a name. I mean, it's, they're, I wouldn't waste my time, right? I mean, I
Mhm.
wouldn't waste my time. I long since ago just, I don't even know why I chose them to me. There's just, these accounts I just consider them as, I don't know what they are. They're just not going to do me any good. So just ignore them.
Maybe they're incognito on their end and that's how they, I'm not sure either, but it doesn't, you're right, it doesn't really serve your purpose.
Yeah, and kind of one of those other things is that, and this is just a general suggestion that I'll make to people when you're in job search mode, is that um, people always wonder, well, I saw it was, I get these messages, oh, I saw the job that was posted here, and I guess maybe they didn't hire somebody, or it's still out there, and I hadn't heard from it. They fill in, they make all these assumptions, and here's what I know, is that if anybody on this call was to know, like, why some job post was up and then why it was down and why it's up again, or if anybody on this call was to likely know what's going on behind the scenes, it would probably be me, just because I've been doing it so long. And here's what I know: the more I do what I do, the more I understand I have no clue. So all of the things that you drive yourself crazy with, well, oh, maybe they did this, or maybe it's supposed to, you know what? You have no idea. And in fact, the answer to that question isn't going to change anything. So, don't worry yourself about it a whole lot. Go find people and, go reach out to people, find people you can help. And all I know also, and we've talked about this in acing your interview, which is, it's funny to me that somehow there's this unwritten rule that people are supposed to get back to you when you've interviewed, and I guess probably they should, but I mean they're not going to always. And the reason why people don't get back to you after you've interviewed is because they don't want to tell you no, because it's uncomfortable to tell people no. The worst part of my job today is I have two people who are really, really close to offers. They're in the final stages. I have two people who have to tell no. I hate it, right? It's the least favorite part of my job. But that's the reason why they don't get back to you. So, but you ought to follow up with people, by the way. I mean, so even on an interview, I mean, get their contact information. If I was interviewing you today, Leslie, I'd say, hey, Leslie, would it be all right? I'll follow up with you next week just to see. So, by next Wednesday, I'll send a message out saying, hey, Leslie, just following up. Hey, I was thinking about, I was learning about. Anyway, we can go into that in another time. But my
Mhm.
point really is that it's not about other people finding you a job. It's not about other people following up with you. It's not about other people reading your resume. It's not about expecting everybody else to do a whole bunch of things so that you can find a job. I mean, what it is about, go find people you can help. Go do the work, right? Go
Mhm.
do the work. And
Mhm.
it's not even all that hard. I mean, this is how I hire. This is just using the same techniques that I go use to find people. For most of the jobs that my team helps companies hire for, I mean, we reach out to almost 200 people. So if I'm reaching out to almost 200 people for every single job that we fill, you got to figure you probably ought to be doing at least the same thing, if not more, to go find a job for yourself. So you go do the work. Nobody else can do it for you.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, and Gary, I think a lot of folks, I was conditioned myself initially, you go to a job board and you apply. And
Mhm.
that's, we know obviously now that that's just the smallest piece of a job search process. And if that's all you're doing, you're really not maximizing your visibility. Um, and so, to that end, when we do see jobs on LinkedIn, and I know you mentioned this before, when
Mhm.
you see a job that says apply, even on LinkedIn or whether it's Indeed, and you have just said, don't don't apply through that process. Go to the actual website like you did with Jacobs.
Mhm.
Do you feel the same about the jobs on LinkedIn? Is it the same kind of situation, you believe?
Yeah, it is. And the reason why is that I can show you if we had the time, or join us for effective job search strategies and we really dive into that. So
Hmm.
in most companies use an applicant tracking system. And so, if I went to some of my clients, I could show you their applicant tracking system. So anytime you apply directly, it goes straight into the applicant tracking system. It's where my hiring managers already are. It's where I set up interviews. It's just a lot less work for me. And so, I recently, out of desperation, because the hiring manager insisted, and I just didn't want to fight with the hiring manager, I did post a job. I hate it because I feel responsible for getting back to everybody. Most people are not qualified. But for those people who are, I mean, it comes to me an email. I got to download the resume. I got to upload it into the applicant tracking system. It's just a hassle, right? And so these days, when you have so many people applying for jobs and you have so much stuff going on, and most recruiters are way overworked, the idea that I also have to go into my email and I have to get something else. So, and the other thing about Indeed is, I don't know if you know this, but Indeed reformats your resume. They put it into their own internal format. They email me over. They take out your phone number. They take out your contact information. The only thing they give me is some stupid Indeed email address because they want to track everything that I'm doing, and I resent them. So all of us resent them. So the job boards and things like that are self-serving. I know people are product managers over at Indeed, and the way that they decide, they're pay per click, and it's okay. I'm not saying they're evil, but what I am saying is that because they get paid per click, improvement in product management is how many people apply for a job. So their objective is to get more people to apply for the job, and that certainly doesn't help you. So yeah, they're not there to act in your best interest.
Okay. Okay. That sounds awesome. Gary, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we could probably talk for hours on all of these things.
We
And I
probably
mean,
could, and I'm not here to, hopefully some of this stuff makes sense, right? I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. I'm not necessarily here to even well, the reason why you should feel better is knowledge is power. And if you understand how the game is played, it's a whole lot easier to win. So,
mhm,
join us for some of these other things. I'll take you behind the scenes and I'll tell you how it really works, right? And if you understand how it really works, then, you can take advantage of it. Yeah,
absolutely.
cool.
Absolutely. And I did post in our chat for everyone. You can go to the where the webinar archives are. Certainly register for our next one as well. We've got that posted coming up soon. So we'd love to see you at multiple times. The people that I have learned that understand this the best are the ones who have attended a couple of times, really, because it sinks in a little better. One comment that we just had as well is the key is just to do what you hear, do what Gary says, because it does work and it gets results. So
Yes, it
it
does
takes a
work.
little
I make my
change in
living
your
because I do this.
it does. It takes a little change in your what we've learned up until now about job search. So
Yeah.
um, good. And you posted, Gary. Yep, you posted your information. I posted ours as well. So we'll see you at the next one, everyone. And y'all have a great weekend. We'll look forward to working with you in the future. And Gary, thank you again.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right, y'all take care. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye.